Hi, so I was just deciding to do a little bit of research on the ballot questions for Massachusetts 2024 election. I just want to talk about my opinions on them and stuff, see if they change in the future, just some background about me. I'm 20 years old. Sorry, I have my laptop right behind me, behind the phone to prop it up, and there was given some light, so if it goes dark, then it's just my laptop and I just need to tap it. But anyways, so I'm 20 years old. I'm registered as independent and I don't subscribe to any specific ideologies or political beliefs, because I don't subscribe to just one thing or the other, I go to school for food and beverage entrepreneurship, and I'm studying the restaurant industry and stuff like that. So I know quite a bit of information about the restaurant industry. I've been working in it for my entire life. I haven't worked in any other industry. So I just wanted to talk about that, but I also have never been a server myself. I've only ever worked in positions where I've made minimum wage, other than when I was a busser, and I was paid the waitress wage at the time. I forget what it was then. It was a couple of years ago. But I was getting paid waitress wage then, but I wasn't physically a server. So question number 5 in Massachusetts 2024 is basically just saying that they want to raise the minimum, they want to raise the pay for servers and bartenders and other people like that from the current minimum server wage of $6.75 an hour to minimum wage of $15 an hour gradually over 5 years. And then they also want to make it so it's mandatory pooled tips, so the owners and managers can decide who gets what tips. And I just want to discuss a little bit about all the angles that I can think of. But yeah, sorry, I'm out of breath. First thing, I want to look at it from a couple different perspectives. From the perspective of being an owner and operator manager position, being a server, and then also being a customer. So it's easy to look at it from a customer's perspective first, but I want to start from the very beginning of being an owner operator and how that would look like as as an owner-operator for a business. Just to start, some facts about owning a business, in the restaurant industry. Labor costs are the highest costs that are involved in running a restaurant. So if you look at utilities and rent and the ingredients to make the food, basically anything you can think of that makes up a restaurant running on a day-to-day basis, that none of those compare to the cost of labor. Labor usually is around 30+% of revenue, with everything else being fractions compared to that, with some restaurants going upwards of 40% labor costs, which is crazy to think about, how humans are so expensive to pay, and that's before raising to the 15 an hour. Of course, there are people that are working the cooks and stuff like that, and cleaning people, all those different positions that don't make the waitress wage. Of course, there are people like that, but once you raise the waitress wage, the labor costs are going to increase dramatically, and that will affect the day-to-day lives of the owner and operator, the servers, and the customers. Just to start with the owner and operator, they're going to see labor costs skyrocket. Once those labor costs go up, then they're going to start laying off employees. They're going to schedule shifts to be less and less employees at once, which will later on affect everyone else on the back end, because the owner operator wants to make a revenue. they want to make a profit. And if they don't have a profit, then they're not running a business. What they're just doing is they're not running a business. You can't run a business without making a profit. And profit is the number one thing you need to make a business that's successful. So when you see that the cost of something goes up, they're gonna try to bring that down, and then they're also gonna bring up the they're like money makers, so then they can make more money from other streams of revenue. So you'll see less servers, less jobs, but then also an increase in price for your meals. So you already go to a restaurant today and you'll sit down and you'll be like, oh my gosh, why is it so expensive for me to just go out for dinner with my family? Back like 10-15 years ago, it wasn't this expensive to eat out. Well, what we're gonna see if it's passed and question number 5 is voted yes, majority, then people will be saying that even more so, and the price of the meals will go up so much it'll make it impossible for families to go out to eat, and less customers will be able to consume and eat there. From a server's perspective, you'd think that they'd appreciate getting paid more per hour, but that actually is not a good thing, because a lot of servers go home with more than what they would have made on minimum wage on an average night from the tips that they make. And you hear about pooling tips. Well, that's great. You split and share between everyone because everyone did a great job, and it's not fair that one server got like all these tables that didn't want to tip them, but another one got lucky and had all these people that did tip them. Well, when you have mandatory pooled tips, yes, there are places where that's optional, and you can figure out how to do that with your servers and employees fairly. But if it's mandatory, then that means that the owners and operators can split your tips to be with everyone that works there, with the cooks and the people, like anyone in the back of house, just anyone in general. They can share your tips even if they weren't working with the customers one-on-one, and you earn those tips. You did the work to earn those tips, but guess what? You're not making those tips. And from customers' perspective, hey, I tipped them because I thought they did a great job. But guess what? They don't get it because they had to pull their tips, and the manager said, no, you don't get that much tonight. So that can be very disheartening, and you can end up losing money compared to if you were making, it's crazy to think about, making $6.75 is better than, making $6.75 an hour is better than making $15 an hour. Of course everyone would want to make more, but when you make more an hour, and then you'll get less tips, and instead it will look like this, where you get more money at the end of the day when you have the $6.75 nights versus the minimum wage, where you're literally only making minimum wage and then maybe like a couple extra bucks on top of it from tips. From the customer's perspective, you'll see that, of course, like I already mentioned, the cost of food will go up, so you'll be less likely to want to go unless you can afford to go and like pay for way more for your meals. And then service quality will go down because there are less people that are being, like, less people working, and when they're not incentivized with good tips, then your servers will be working poor quality and they will not want to work as efficiently for you, and you will be suffering as a customer on the back end, where of course the customer should be catered towards, but the reality of it is that people work off motivation, and if your server knows that you're not going to pay them because they're just going to be getting minimum wage, then they're going to work like they're getting paid minimum wage. That's literally a saying where, like, it's like a thing where I'm not going to work more than what I'm getting paid for. But if your server knows that they're going to get paid well, or at least they have the hope that they could get paid well by throughout tips and stuff, then they're more likely to do a better job with their service quality, and they'll want to be able to get your food up faster and do all these extra things. So it's like, it looks like on the surface it would be a good idea, but when you dig deep into it, it's not. So when you see that there are more complaints from customers, because of course if quality is going to go down and prices go up, then customers are going to be like, hey, I've been going here forever, why are things changing? I loved your restaurant and now it's like going bad, it's not good anymore. Then the restaurant is basically almost forced to close down. And I know it seems like a big jump, but the food costs go up, the quality goes down, less customers want to work or go there, less people are working there, the whole place is going to fall apart. And you can't survive, you can't keep a restaurant going without the people you need to work it. I'm really very passionate. No for number 5. Okay. Bye.